So we've gotten so much discussion about a potential Sonic Adventure remake at this point, but after some new information has come out, I'm actually a little bit doubtful of a remake happening. But what I think can happen instead is even better. Let's discuss my thoughts right now.
I got hot sauce in my bag, swag.
Hello there, beautiful human. My name is RidersDX. Welcome to my channel where today, I gotta tell you guys something. I think the Sonic fanbase is getting a little bit, out of control. Sega!
Sonic Forces!
Are we getting a Sonic Adventure remake? I cannot confirm or deny, but please enjoy this racing game littered with adventure references and remixes. Are we getting a Sonic Adventure remake? Did you check out this short film we made? We finally made Child in Space a real thing. Are we getting a Sonic Adventure remake? Did you see that OKKO special? Sonic does the adventure pose in it. Are we? So there's been rumor after speculation video after who knows what else that suggests a Sonic Adventure remake may be coming. And I've been guilty of doing this myself. I looked at some rumors and reported on them as well. But I've recently seen something on Twitter that basically sprouted a new idea in my head that I want this video to discuss. And so recently, Emmy Jones, who is a pretty prominent figure within the Sonic community, has announced this sort of radio show drama that includes some pretty significant names. So not only does it include Mike Pollock as Dr. Eggman, but it also includes Ryan Drummond as Sonic, my favorite Sonic voice actor of all time. My goodness. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit too fangirlish, but honestly, Ryan Drummond's voice has always been Sonic to me, and it always will be. And so the fact that I can get to hear Sonic from Ryan Drummond again really soon is really exciting to me, even if it's just this like weird thing like this. And also with the quarantine going on, it's just some really good entertainment to indulge yourself in also. But one thing that I saw from her tweets when this was announced is that she made it very clear that herself and Ryan Drummond have not been contacted at all by Sega in terms of a Sonic Adventure remake project.
I don't care what happens to the world.
I guess some people thought that this project was related to an actual remake, which is kind of dumb to be honest, because it'd be a kind of a weird thing to tie to the remake. But anyway, so this just kind of proves if there is a remake in question, then Ryan Drummond is not going to be a part of it, which is just really disappointing to think about, and I really don't want to even think of that scenario. But this literally could mean that maybe the voice actors are just going to be revoicing all the lines within the game, you know, the current cast, such as like Roger Craig Smith, for example. But I started thinking that this could also mean something else. And so I want to preface this by saying that I am fairly certain that something adventure related is more than coming. As I had pointed out in that really interesting skit in the beginning, Sega has been leaving breadcrumbs of adventure references everywhere they can, with Team Sonic Racing basically being like an adventure reference hoarder. But now with this news, I'm actually starting to doubt an actual adventure remake is coming. But what could be coming might be even better. And so to best present this idea, let's first talk about a certain Sonic game that I'm sure everyone still remembers, Sonic Mania. So how amazing of a project was this? I mean, it kind of is like a dream come true, and it's just something I can't even believe actually happened. A group of fans were hired by Sega to make what was the highest rated Sonic game in years. And so what I loved about Sonic Mania is that it was made as a love letter to the original trilogy of games. And so they took a little bit of the old and combined it with the new. So they took both old levels and new levels and also implemented a bunch of new concepts into the game. You know, it really was just like, we love this game, here's what we want to do with it. So I wonder, is Sega going to approach the next title in a similar manner, but in the vein of adventure? So are we gonna get something along the lines of Sonic Adventure Mania? Not to be confused with Sonic Mania Adventures, so they probably would call it something different. But not only do I think that this concept is possible, but I also think it's Sega's best solution going forward. And so I have a couple ways of how this could go, so I'm gonna go ahead and dive into them. But before I go into why I think this idea is great and what are some ideas for the actual game if this were to be true, let's first kind of talk a little bit about Sonic Adventure itself. So Sonic Adventure DX was one of the very first Sonic games I'd ever gotten to play, and I plan to delve a little bit more into that game in a future video. But to kind of summarize what my opinion on this game is, I have very fond memories of playing it, all the way back to when I would download that PC demo and play it obsessively until my dad would finally get me a GameCube with the game. But now I realize that there's a lot about this game that I'd actually change. For instance, I'd probably just cut Amy and Big out of story mode. As much as it would pay me to like cut some of like Amy's story interactions, I just thought that those two characters in terms of their gameplay and the story really weren't necessary for the actual game. I'd also expand Sonic's story a lot more, as his gameplay is by far the highlight of the game. There's also a bunch of dialogue and story details I want to either re-record or just revisit completely to enhance the story mode that much more. The point is, a one-to-one remake of this game, while it would be cool, would also remind people about a lot of this game's faults and why it may not have aged as well as other games have. And I know that's something that people don't like to hear, especially really big fans of this game, but in my honest opinion, like while this game has and will always be a lot of fun to me, if the same exact game came out today, it just wouldn't be received that well. And so that's why I kind of feel that one-to-one remake would just remind people of why this game has the criticisms that it has nowadays. I would still be completely down for a straight up remake, as I ultimately love this game and all its flaws, and it'd just be really fun to revisit overall. But now that I have this idea of what the next game could actually be, I can't let go of it. So I have two different ideas I want to propose to you. And so my first one is what I would call a Sonic Adventure Mania. Of course, it would have to be a different name, like I said, because that name is confusing. But basically, if you wanted to take the strategy of Mania in its development, but just do it with an adventure style, we would basically see both old levels revisited in this game along with a slew of new ones. With bringing back old levels, I could imagine so many possibilities in terms of how they revisit them. So just some different ideas I thought of on the spot. With like Emerald Coast, you could imagine them incorporating some kind of underwater portion of the level, you know, maybe like an underwater oasis with all the fish swimming around you and such. It looked gorgeous, but they'd have to make sure it played well too. Maybe in Pyramid Cave, Sonic can travel outside the pyramid as well and get some great views through this way. And maybe if they brought back like Final Rush, they could incorporate some more gravity mechanics in a wide open space. That'd be really interesting to see how they would do that. These are just a few ideas I could think of on the spot. If you all have any other ideas, then please let me know in the comment section below, because I think this could be really fun to just kind of think about how they would take certain levels from the previous two games and recreate them and add new functions to them, similar in the way of what they did with Sonic Mania, because I think in Sonic Mania they did a really good job of bringing back these old levels and adding new elements to them. Like that made the levels feel new again, and I really like that. I'd love to see that done with a Sonic Adventure type game. And of course, the idea of brand new levels with adventure style absolutely makes me want to cry, because in a way we basically be getting part of an adventure dream through this project, but it wouldn't be burdened with the enormous expectations that name would ultimately give off. And so I've always wanted to see the adventure style gameplay come back, and this kind of title would bring some of that to the table, because you wouldn't just be playing like old levels, you'd be playing new levels as well with new interpretations and new gameplay mechanics. Like, oh, it just makes me so excited just thinking about it. You could also have a story that delves deeper into the lore of Chaos, which leads Sonic to revisit some of these areas from the first game and trying to throw in some Adventure 2 areas here and there if it makes sense story-wise. My overall point being, this potential title would have the best of both worlds. It would serve as a partial remake, revisiting some old levels, but it also gives developers an opportunity to incorporate new ideas and make something better than the original. Because I'll say it, Sonic Mania is better than the original trilogy. It takes what they did and simply expands upon it. I would love to see the same thing happen with an adventure style game, because you know, you just take what worked before and incorporate that into the new game, but also build new ideas upon it to make it even better. So let me know in the comment section what you think about this idea, because it's something that's really exciting to me and I'd love to see happen. I did have one more idea I want to discuss in this video, and that is what I'd call a Sonic Adventure reimagining. And so this is basically what the title makes it seem like, a reimagining of the original. And so the best way I can describe this is by referring to another remake that just came out, the Final Fantasy VII Remake. So despite its name, Final Fantasy VII Remake is very much its own original brand new adventure. It just takes the story from the original game and basically retells it with a revamped gameplay style and story. And so I think this would be a really great idea for an adventure remake as well, because like I said before, there are a lot of things that I would change about the original game. I certainly wouldn't want them to replace the adventure gameplay with boost gameplay. Like that would be a nightmare in itself, and I don't want to think about it. But taking the original gameplay and polishing it up and creating a bigger adventure of it would just be a dream come true, because I love the original story of Sonic Adventure. You know, it's one of my favorite stories within the Sonic franchise, and so I would love to see them take that story and expand upon it and make it an even bigger adventure in in a similar way that Final Fantasy VII Remake did. You know, imagine having double the amount of Sonic levels. Imagine having even more Chaos' history be explained through Knuckles' story. Imagine Tails having actual challenging levels. And best of all, imagine them cutting out the Sky Chase levels. Please cut them out. A reimagining would allow them to take the original game that we love so much, but eliminate the chains and barriers that they would face if they had to make a one-to-one remake. Of course, there's a whole lot of risk with taking this approach, as people have a lot of fond memories of the original, and they also could end up making a worse version of the game, and it'd just be another hole that Sonic would have to climb out of. But the potential benefit that they could get from doing this kind of title well, not only would it please older fans, but it also bring in new ones and create a demand for more adventure-style games in the future. And that's ultimately what I would love to see most from Sonic. I love to see more adventure-style games because I miss this gameplay style so much. You know, I really think that they were getting somewhere really good with the adventure games, but for some reason they just like threw that away and tried all these different ideas here and there, and now we're at where we're at today. And so I'm not sure if I trust the current Sonic team to pull off a project like this, but man, if they did, it would be such a dream because I would love to revisit Sonic Adventure, but I love to revisit it in a new way that makes the experience even better. Because like I said, the original game, while as amazing as it was, it does have a lot of flaws that I think need to be fixed for the current generation. And so I think the best way to go about it would either to be making a game influenced by Sonic Adventure or just reimagining the original title completely. But gosh, you know, after seeing the Final Fantasy VII Remake and what they did to it, just imagining what they could do to Sonic Adventure really just blows my mind. I love Sonic Adventure, and it will definitely go down in history as one of my favorite games of all time, but I'd be lying if I said I'd be okay with a one-to-one remake. I think the Final Fantasy VII Remake shows that there's a lot of potential in revisiting a game and making it even better than it was before. There's just so much potential in taking what the original game did and just expanding upon it and making it an even grander adventure. It's a huge risk, but Sega's never been known for playing it safe, and so I wouldn't really put it past them. This is what they were planning. Riders, guess what? What? A random journalist has come out and said that a new game is getting announced. Shout out to Team Route Sonic Gamer, Glitch Dolphin, Andrew Coughlin, New Gamer Hub, Abraham Muter, Maz Muter, and Angry Studios. These are my Patreon/YouTube members. If you'd like to become a patron or YouTube member, get access to a whole bunch of different perks, and please check out the links in the description box below. But alright, this is Riders, riding out.